Well, Ed, in terms of shows, second best one you've ever put on?
Main event-wise, I think I have to say the best.
Oh, right.
You know, I mean, look, Froch Groves 2 was a huge event, but on an international scale, this fight is, and I'm shitting myself, you know, because by every time I sit down with Kell Brook, I just become that more and more confident. You know, he's a bit of a crazy guy. Do you know what I mean? And
Spencer said that.
yeah, you have to be a great fighter, by the way. So that encourages me as well. But he's not like, he's excited. You know, like, you'd think you'd be thinking, fucking hell, like...
In a bit too deep here, it's happening.
I got home from work and I had a bit of dinner. I was sitting on the sofa and I turned on the TV and it was Glennady Golovkin, KO King on Sky. And after about 10 minutes, I felt sick, you know. And I text Kell and I said, what are you up to? He said, just at home watching TV. And I was like, don't put on Sky Sports 2. He was already watching it. And he's buzzing, you know. And I keep saying to people, don't worry about the weight in this fight. Yeah, like, it's definitely a small disadvantage for us, but this is going to come down to skill and ability. And I believe Kell Brook has that in abundance. He's bang up against it. We know that. We're not stupid. But, you know, if you are special, and I believe he is, this is the kind of fight you can win.
He said he's not fighting again at 147, which suggests he believes he can win it and believes he's got a career at a heavier weight. Where does that leave him in terms of the belt, obviously, and just, you know, if he does win it, what's the future look like?
We won't make any decisions till after the fight, but if he wins, he becomes the hottest thing in world boxing. So, Golovkin 2, Canelo, you know, I mean, it's going to be hard for him to make 147, but I keep saying to people, everything's the same with the weight. The only thing we're not doing is the 48, 72 hour depletion, which knocks his bollocks out of him for the fight. So if it was anyone else, if it was Jacobs, if it was Saunders, I'd think we were a big favourite. But it's Golovkin. But that's the excitement. You know, I mean, can you imagine the buzz in there on Saturday night? And that's what you live for.
It is, only we've not been accredited.
Well, unfortunately,
I'm still going to live for the next one, though.
No,
it's all right. We're still cracking on.
You should see the international requests.
I mean, I'm not.
Anthony ain't got an easy job, unfortunately.
It's all right. It's all right, Anthony. Don't worry. We'll get there in the end. Your rise as a promoter. One thing that, you know, comes as par for the course is the expectancy to deliver a bigger and better show time and time again. When you signed that contract with Sky, you know, you was pretty much in your infancy. Yeah. How was that evolved, and how were you taking it in your stride? I saw you was on holiday recently. Is it important to take a break and kind of, you know, step back, reassess, and does that get you charged up again, or you just kind of...
I think when you live it, you can have breaks, but the breaks aren't, you know, I mean, my mind, and you know, mainly because I'm getting plagued by fighters, when am I fighting? And it's not just fighters, it's trainers and managers and advisors, and, you know, so... You know, it ain't a sob story. I've got a great life, but I don't really get the chance to just sort of rock off on a Sunday and have a kip for 3 or 4 hours and turn my phone off. Saying that, I've got 2 kids, and I can't really do that anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I saw.
The harder thing for me is the kids thing, because, you know, I've always been brought up like family is the most important thing in the world. Yet sometimes I probably neglect them a little bit to deal with this text or this email, but I've grown up like that myself. I had a father that was exactly the same way with me. Still a great dad, but I used to sit in his study for hours and hours just listening to him, because that was the only way I could be near him, because he was busy. And, you know, you know, I'm privileged that I'd come up from an easier background than he did, but that was his way out. So that's how driven he is. I'm made of the same stuff, just that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, which I've turned gold. Do you know what I mean?
Wait for it to turn platinum, mate. Or is that the kids? Is that the kids? Are they going to turn it? They're going to turn it platinum?
But it's a lifestyle. I don't want to sound cheesy, but just as much to a fighter, it's a lifestyle. To a promoter, it's a lifestyle.
Well, that's why I asked, because obviously there's a different pressure on you, and I don't think it's really taken into consideration. Is it more pressure on you than any other promoter? As long as I've been covering the sport, anyway.
Look, although I probably come across like a little bit of a flash Harry and stuff like that, so people out there on social media will probably look at me and think, flash fucker, I'd quite like me to fail. But that drives me on to make fights like this, you know, and when you make a fight like this, people go, oh, but I don't want to get complacent as a promoter, and because that's where the problem of boxing happened last time. Everybody started getting complacent, everyone started getting lazy, the quality was depleting, the crowds were depleting, the buzz was depleting, and then boxing was depleting. So now, but we can only keep it on that level if we continue to do shows like this. There's more pressure now because now people say, "Oh, Britain's like the hub for boxing. Got 14 world champions. Wow, what's next?" You know, and
possibly a 15th.
Yeah, but Charlie Edwards. But I feel that pressure when we're building shows because the shows now are 100% better than the shows 2 years ago, but they might not have been as good as the last one. But that's all the fans remember, the last one. They don't go, "Oh yeah, but 3 years ago the shows were shit, and now they're really good." They go, "This isn't as good as the last one."
But that's what I mean about the pressure. People, the expectation.
I try and be as transparent as I can. So, an example, Crolla Linares, yeah? Massive main event on a Saturday night fight night. The budget for the undercard isn't as much as Bellew Flores, which is still a big fight, but not as big a fight. So you've got a better undercard. And I think it frustrates me something, because I think if you sit down and explain it like that, I'm hopeful that the fan goes, "Okay, I understand that." Do you know what I mean? But they don't, they just want the best every time. That's why they're fans.
If I was to pick apart the strategy from a couple of years ago, the partnering up with Al Heyman, looking at champions like the one that's fighting Edwards, you kind of summed it up well. I know actually it wasn't you, it was a headline, you know, the world champion that nobody knows. Probably a few of them that were out there in the last couple of years. Did you guys kind of look at it and think, well, if we target those, get it together, we could be in a position of strength where we've got 14 world champions now? Was that part of the strategy, or did that just kind of fall into place?
Are you talking about the strategy working?
Just in terms of how you target fights and just maybe look at it on a year-to-year.
It's basically like every now and again you meet someone who is busy like you. And there's a guy called Louis DeCubas Jr. who works for Al Heyman, who is a young guy, great boxing brain, and we speak like every day. And they manage like 200 fighters, right? And because their models change a little bit, they're now looking to get those fighters out. Casemiro is one of them. So he'll phone me out and go, "Right, I've got this world champion at this weight." And I go, "Boom, I've got 3 geezers at that weight. Who's going to fight him?" And it's just, you know, it's just, but now we've got the money to pay them to come over. See, like back in the day, you might have 50 grand to pay a world champion. Now we might have 200 grand. So we can make the fights. Without them travelling. You know, we went through a period, I was getting a lot of stick because we were sending fighters to fight abroad. Reese boxed Broner, you know, Barker fought Martinez, loads of Purdy ended up fighting Alexander. People going, "Oh, what?" They were getting paid a lot of money, but we couldn't say, "Oh, what we'll do is we'll bring Sergio Martinez to the UK to fight Darren Barker." Now we could, because that fight would have been pay-per-view. So, you know, pay-per-view, whilst it has its critiques, has also been a huge part of our success, and it's enabled us to make obviously Brook Golovkin, but also to give Charlie Edwards his crack, and also to give Stuart Hall his crack on our show. So it's very important to the model.
Looking ahead then, November 26th, big show up in Manchester, right?
Yeah.
Why away from London? What's the decision behind that? And obviously it will sell out. And have we got an opponent yet?
No, I'm working on that. I mean, you know, this idea of Land of the Giants, Night of the Giants keeps getting bandied about, and I like that. You know, there's some good heavyweight fights to be made. I think that Manchester, you know, people keep saying, why Manchester? Very simple, O2 wasn't available. Manchester's bigger, it's got about 5,000 more seats. And I do like the idea of taking him as well, you know, on the road a little bit. I don't want to just be a one-trick pony, you know, O2. I like the Pulev fight, I like the Stiverne fight, I like the Parker fight. So
try and do fancy out of those.
Well, I want to make Parker against Price. So taking him out, I quite like the Pulev fight because I think it's a proper test for Josh.
What's Stiverne?
Stiverne, yeah, he's a little bit hot and cold. I mean, he hasn't quite got the momentum that, you know, I know that Pulev's one loss to Klitschko, but, you know, good win against Chisora and European champion, number 2 in the IBF. Stiverne's cool as well. But I think those guys, you know, we've really, I talk about those 3 a lot, and the general response is, I'm cool with one of those. Do you know what I mean? Which is important to us because I don't want AJ to get criticised for his opponents because he'll fight anyone. But what we're trying to come up with is a plan to say, right, Pulev, Parker, Fury, or Pulev, Parker, Wilder, and that fight will come next summer.
Dylan, I saw an interview with him recently where he mentioned Chisora, said he was going about it wrong. Guys wanted to get him on the Glasgow bill or whatever it was. Is that any closer to happening?
Yeah, he's going to be on the Glasgow bill. We're trying to make the fight with Ian Lewinson, and hopefully for the British title.
Because you've had a lot of stick with him, haven't you?
Yeah, he had a good win in China, Lewinson, recently. So he's WBO top 15 now. So I think they'll give him the nod. And it's just a shame that a fight that's the Battle of Brixton will take place in Glasgow. But I just want Dylan to fight and win for that British title. It's a tough fight against Lewinson. He's alive when he's fit and he's on it. He's up for it, and that's stylistically a good fight. And then, all being well, try and make the Chisora fight on the November 26th card.
How many fights are you in now to your contract? Was it 20 odd fights on it?
Yeah, we've done 20 a year, and we've done. What we try and do is we try and look at bringing in some international content as well, because I know the problem is with international stuff, 3-4 in the morning, it doesn't really rate. But to the boxing fan, forget the casual fan, the boxing fan, it's important. Do you know what I mean? Box Nation's domestic schedule is poor. Their international schedule is phenomenal. Yeah. But we find that when we put an international fight on, it doesn't get an audience at 3 or 4 in the morning. So it's very difficult to go to Sky and say, do more international shows, because they go, it doesn't rate. So what's the answer to that? You know what I mean? So, but we try and use some of that pot as well. We've actually got a really good international fight we're going to announce, I think, today or tomorrow, which is, it's a trade fight, but a great fight. And I think we had Leeds, we had here, we had Crolla, we've got Cleverly, Bramer, we've got Glasgow, we've got Liverpool, and we've got Birmingham. So 7 already, and probably then 26, another one in December, and so on. So it's very difficult when you get a culmination of shows that you're trying to sell all at once, because you can't put all the effort or the focus into one. And maybe the focus moving forward could be just slightly fewer shows, but a bigger budget for each individual show. Because now we're doing like 10, 12 fights a card. It's really difficult to keep all the fighters. And now you've got new fighters, Olympians and stuff like that, saying, well, we'd like to join a team. And you ain't got any space anyway, but you can't not sign them.
Which one have you nicked?
None yet.
Which one do you want?
I'd like to sign Joshua Buatsi. I think he's a good talent. I mean, that's laying my cards on the table.
Why not, though? I mean, he's a good talent.
I speak to Josh, and I saw him yesterday at the workout. I've had no conversation with him at all about turning pro, and it's not really my style. Maybe it should be, because maybe he's probably thinking, so it's like a geezer and a bird who both fancy each other, waiting for...
No one's saying nothing. So just lying in bed together.
You go, I really liked you, so...
We'll tell him.
You can tell him.
Yeah, we'll tell him.
I like him. I like his demeanour. He's a size as well. Standing next to him yesterday.
Tell me if the whole rule change changes the landscape for boxers. With them being able to be pro and go and fight in the Olympics.
No, because I don't think any fighter, especially in Britain, is looking to do both. So,
anybody that jumps on that is hype.
Yeah. I think you're more likely to be a pro that goes back, that says, do you know what, I'll have a go at the Olympics. So rather than turn pro and then go back, I think it's one or the other, But someone like Buatsi, he would need, in my opinion, he needs 7 or 8 fights a year all over the country to build his
profile. Of course, the same way.
The only one that can do that, So, as always, as there was with AJ, there's other people that I'm sure will give him more money, but the model, in my opinion, won't work. So, we will talk to him. And Joe Joyce, he's a little bit older, but, he's a very good fighter. And even probably Nicola Adams as well. I was at a GQ Awards last night.
Saw you, mate. Saw ya. Can't wait to get one of them tickets.
She got an incredible reception. And
deserve it.
Yeah. And that sort of made me think, wow, I just don't know about women. I don't know enough about women's boxing, But I know that if it's ever going to work, it'll work through her. Do you know what I mean? So why not give it a spin?
Good luck, mate. I'd like to see that. And listen, good luck with the show. Thanks for your time as always. Appreciate it.